Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's live stream. I hustled on here to try to get here on time for you, and many of you have sent me messages saying, please go live on Sunday evening. So here we are. I'm going to go live and try to do this every Sunday evening. I really want to do this because I think there is an absence of advisors available for you to answer questions. And so I think this is a great medium to go on Sunday evening and just answer your questions. And then you can watch the videos that I post throughout the week. So this is going to be, or at least my goal for the live stream is to be able to provide an avenue for you to ask your questions that you guys are all asking in the comments and sending me emails. Here's an opportunity. I'm going to give you like a topic to talk about, but if you have other questions you want to talk about, go right ahead and put those up there because I'm going to answer those questions as we go through this. Okay, so let me just get organized here. I'll get the chat going there. So if anybody is having any difficulty hearing me, just go ahead and just let me know if the audio isn't coming through fine. Otherwise, I'm just going to go for it and hope you enjoyed today's video or the topic anyway. So today we're going to be talking about this subject. Let's get that going right now. Here we go. Retirement planning, 5 retirement planning questions. Now, these happen to be the top 5 questions that you all are thinking about. You ask these questions, you see it in the comments, I get it in the emails, you're phoning me, you're asking me these 5 questions. So I'm going to go through these relatively quickly so that I can, answer those questions as they come up in the live stream, but I'm going to cover the topics pretty well for you tonight. So I hope you enjoyed today's session. And again, give me your feedback, put your comments below, and also let me know if you want me to continue to go live on Sunday evening. And if this is a good time for you. I thought maybe 9 o'clock, 9:30-ish is the right time. Anyway, let's get into the first question. How much money do I need to retire comfortably? This is by far the single biggest question that you are all asking. And so the best way to actually go about this, obviously, getting a financial plan is the best way to about doing this, but you really need to just take a couple of steps here. First, you have to ask yourself, how much do we plan to spend in retirement? And for many of you, that is a difficult question to answer. And so what I would say here is, I'll just make this bigger so you can see me. There you go. So one of the easiest ways, or maybe the best way, I don't know if it's easy or the best way, is to simply just say, okay, how much money do we plan to spend in retirement on an annual basis, on a monthly basis? You can use these, rules of thumb where you see on every Google, how much money do I need to live off in retirement? And they'll say 70% of your current income. This a good way to begin. Now, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be 70%. I've seen people spend more money in retirement than they're spending while they're working, namely because they're so worried about having enough money to retire that they just simply didn't spend a lot. They kept themselves in a pretty strict budget. And so they're just being careful about how much money they're spending while they're working. And then once they get retirement, they have an idea as to how much they want to spend. So you have to really nail that answer down. You have to understand how much you're going to spend each month or on an annual basis. Just take out a budget sheet. If you've got an Excel spreadsheet, something where you can record what you're spending money on. I've got an excellent document that I can send you. You can just simply write out. It gives you some insights as to what kind of bills you're spending money on. And then you could just simply figure out how much money you're spending today. Are any of those expenses going to translate into retirement? So some things that come to mind: will you need 2 cars? Will you be spending that much more money on gas? Some of those expenses that are going to drop or minimize are going to be picked up and increased with some other expenses like travel. You might travel more, right? So those are the kinds of things you have to go through. Once you know how much money you're going to spend in retirement, then it's just a matter of understanding, is that something that we can actually do in retirement? Can we spend this amount of money given the kind of assets that we have or the income streams that we have? And that's why it's so important to get a retirement plan done so you can understand whether or not that is a possible thing. Okay, so the other thing too to remember is the impact of inflation. And I'm just going to check here to make sure everything is all right with the live stream. I think it's, yeah, everything is right. Everything going well with the live stream. Just check the audio. Okay, so the next thing is inflation. What is the impact of inflation? I'm going to give you this interesting, just a good way of seeing the impact of inflation. So if we go here to the next screen, you'll see here, here's someone's travel budget. And their travel budget says, we would like to spend $20,000 in the first year of our retirement. And if you factor in a 2.5% increase of the cost of things going up, this is inflation, just 2.5%. You can see by the time they're 71, 72, that's $26,000 that they're spending. So it's an extra $6,000, and that just keeps going up and up. And that's just simply 2.5%. So this is why it's important that you have to factor in your expenses and put in what are the cost of inflation to fund those expenses throughout your lifetime. So answering the question, how much money do you need? You have to know how much money you're going to spend first. It's kind of really easy. Think of a good way to, this was something that we talked about to some clients, and I thought this was a really interesting way to look at retirement. Try going on retirement, kind of like try to act out retirement for 1 month. So whether you're single or you're a couple, I want you to try to think of yourselves like, say, December 1st, not a really great month because you're spending a lot of money, but take a month and say, we're going to try to make it look like we're on retirement. And I want to see how much money we're going to spend in this next 30 days or 31 days. Let's figure out how much we're going to spend and what our activities are and what kind of activities will probably continue in retirement, and be really hyper aware of what you're spending your money on, what you're spending your time on, and just record that to get a sense of, well, are we spending too much here, and where are we going to get the money? That'll give you some really good insights as to how much money you're going to need in retirement. Okay, let's get back to the next slides here. What's the best way to reduce taxes during retirement? This is an excellent question, and I'm going to give you the bullet points, and then we can talk about them one by one. So bullet points, here we go. Income splitting. If you're a couple, it's true that being a couple in retirement is the best way to lower your income tax in retirement, namely because you get to transfer up to 50% of eligible pension income to the lower earning spouse, and that severely reduces taxes. I did a really quick illustration of this with a client saying, look, if you're not going to income split with your spouse, look how much more taxes you're going to spend in just this 1 year. And you add that up over a 30-year period, it's a lot of money. So by far, this has to be the number one way to reduce taxes. If you're a single person, I'm telling you, just retirement for a single person is unfair in Canada, at least. So it's not the best place. As a single person. Maximizing your TFSA contributions. A lot of people don't talk about this in retirement. When we're doing retirement plans, a lot of people aren't thinking about doing future contributions to TFSAs. And I say, well, look, you got all this money in your non-registered account. You're just simply not going to just not move the money annually into the TFSA. And so you have to consider that you want to shelter your annual contributions each year. The other part of that is if you're going to do a downsize, meaning you're going to sell your home and move into a smaller home or rent a condo, that kind of thing, you're going to take that non-registered and you're going to fill up all your unused contribution room in your TFSA. So you really want to get whatever you have that is taxable into a TFSA account. Now you're saying it's not a lot of money, but between two spouses right now, as of this date, it's $95,000 is your lifetime contribution up until 2024. We're going to go up another $7,000 in January. But the idea here, that's a lot of money between two spouses times two, 95 times two. It's a lot of money for you to put away into a TFSA. So you want to make sure you're transferring your money from your non-registered accounts. Even when you're doing your RSP meltdown, you want to put that money into a TFSA. RSP to a RIF conversion, this is really simple. Actually, one of the things that we do in retirement plans is we will show people, will say, what if you were to do an RSP withdrawal, so RSP meltdown, and then once you turn 71, we'll RIF your account, and then you'll do a RIF meltdown. And so we compare that strategy against just riff right away and do a riff meltdown right away and see which one you pay less tax on. Okay, upsize versus downsize. All right, this is something that caught a lot of people off guard when I was doing some plans, and that was a lot of people talk about doing downsizing. You don't need your home. It's a big house. You don't need 4 or 5 bedrooms anymore. It's kind of an inconvenience for you. And if you don't need the money for retirement, then you think about, well, let's just downsize. Let's move into a condo or let's buy a bungalow. We'll just downsize. And actually, what happens is you sell your home and you put $1.5 million, 2 million into a non-registered account. And now you've got all that money that's going to be taxed in your hands. And if you've got a pension plan and CPP and old age security, and then you also have some RSPs, rental income, all that money is being taxed at a very high rate. And if you're uber conservative and you're in more fixed income portfolios, as you would be when you're older, then that's the worst kind of income to receive in retirement. So your tax rate is going to be really high. So one of the things you could consider doing is upsizing. So instead of downsizing, buy a bigger house. I know it sounds unusual, but you're going into that with no debt. That's the key thing here. Your home has gone up in value, and you could actually take that money and move into a bigger house. Not necessarily a bigger house, could be more luxurious, could be in a different postal code, which is really convenient to where you want to live. Maybe it's going to plays, shopping. You're going to move from 2-car family to a 1-car family. So where you want to go is more convenient. So think about upsizing, because your home is a great storage of capital. Right now, you don't pay any income tax on the growth of your primary residence in Canada. So this is a great place for you to put 2 million, 2.5 million into a more luxurious home or better postal code, and just leave that as being your storage of capital rather than selling it and putting it in a non-registered. Of course, we're always talking here about that you don't need your home as part of your retirement plan. This is really key. If you did, then obviously you'd need to downsize. Okay, let's go into the next one. So the next one is number 3. We're moving right along. When should you take CPP and old age security? This is a very common question. I've done a bunch of videos on this. So if you haven't gone onto my YouTube channel and seen the CPP, you can just search CPP and old age security, and you'll get a bunch of videos. One of the videos that went viral on me was the one that we're walking in the forest. I'm talking about reflecting on my own personal decisions on when I'm going to take CPP based on my income stream, how old my mortality, how old people live in my family. So you really want to think about taking CPP as a very individual calculation. So there's 2 ways about this. There's the math answer, and then there's the more emotional question. And I don't mean emotional like you can't figure it out and it's difficult for you. No, I don't mean that. I'm talking about understanding that you have to be really truthful and look at your life and look at your family history and say, is this something that I could count on until I'm 95, or do people in our family pass at a much younger age? And so the math question is, you can look at the break-even point. You can see, when am I going to be getting money from the government? You can look at how much money you're going to get over your lifetime as compared to taking it this date versus that date. So you can get all the math questions done, and you can go on to Canada Revenue's retirement calculator if you wanted to try that out, or you can just get a retirement plan done by an advisor, and we'll give you the math question. Then the second way to go about doing that, I guess the second way to balance that answer, is to consider really, what is the mortality in your family? How is your health? And so you have to consider, yes, the math is, if I make it to this age, I'm going to have this amount of money. But if I don't make it to this age, I'm not going to have that. So maybe it would be better if I take it a little bit earlier, not at age 60. For some of you, 60 is going to be the answer because mortality is much younger in your family history. And also you may need the money. So it's a question of, what are your needs? What's the math say behind it? And then what is really real life statistics in your family say behind it? That's the best way to understand CPP. Now, the other part of the math question is there going to be any clawback of your old age security? So we're trying to push CPP and old age security around up and down that scale from 60 to 70 with the idea that we're trying to solve the math question. We don't want you to have a clawback in your old age security. But with that said, we also have to be aware that sometimes you say, you know what, I'm less concerned about giving a little bit of the money back to Canada Revenue. I'm more concerned about the longevity question in my family. So this is how you answer the question of when to take CPP and old age security. So there, let's look at those bullet points. Just giving you, just freestyling off the top of my head, or CPP, delay until age 70 if possible to maximize. You get 42% more. And the cash flow, if your cash flow is tight or life expectancy is shorter, then consider taking it early. Old age security, delaying OAS also increases your monthly benefits, and be mindful of that OAS clawback that I just talked about, and then understanding the break-even point. And so this is really a very individual calculation. How can I ensure that I don't outlive my savings? Wow, this is huge. So many of you are worried about not having enough money in retirement, and then thinking about, well, how long will it last? Do I actually have enough money to retire at the income need that I want? And will it actually make it till the end of my life and the end of my spouse's life? And how much money is going to go to my kids and so on, or beneficiaries or charities? This is one of your biggest questions. And we spend an awful lot of time talking about that when we develop your plan. So let's go into how we address that. You want to adopt a withdrawal strategy. I've said it before. Most people have, I don't know if I've got it here. Let's have a look. Sometimes I have this in the notes I didn't bring along, but I've said before, most people have a withdrawal strategy. Most people have a deposit strategy and haven't developed a withdrawal strategy. We're so focused on how much money you're going to put away every month or every year into what kind of portfolio. Is it RSP? Is it a TFSA? Is it an RESP for the kids? So you have all these ways to spread your money so thin, and we have this built into a save, deposit the money. It's just something ingrained. All of a sudden, somebody's telling you got to spend your money. It just totally gets you unnerved. It's an unusual and awkward feeling. I haven't met too many couples that are totally excited about spending their money. They're awfully nervous. Even having lots of money, the condition was save, right? So it's something that you have to just come to grips with and understand. You're going to have to spend your money in retirement. Okay, so let's look at some of these things. Follow the 4% rule. I've talked about 4% rule. It can be a good strategy. The thing with the 4% rule is, the way to do it properly is, it's 4% of your portfolio that you're going to spend, but you also have to add in inflation adjusted returns. So inflation adjustment withdrawals. So if you're taking X out 1 year, you have to add 4% to that next year to make sure, or you have to add inflation onto that 4% so that you're not diminishing the amount of money that you have throughout your retirement. So this is really key to making sure that you have enough money to last, that 4% rule. The thing about the 4% rule, if you just look at, some people just look at the 4% and they go, okay, what's 4% of my portfolio balance, and take that out. It's the mathematics behind it was based off of this very specific kind of asset allocation: how much fixed income, how much equity. And so it was really, really specific. It was done long ago when people weren't living as long. And now we're living a little bit longer. And chances are that over the next 20, 30 years, we're going to develop a lot of new ways to help us live a lot longer. And not just physically, but cognitively as well. We're going to live and be aware that we're having good days. And so 4% may not be enough. And that's the thing. And you have to have some equities in your portfolio. For those of you who are uber conservative and very worried about the markets, 4%, the strategy of the 4% rule won't work for you, because you have to have some equities in your portfolio. So you have to bear that in mind. It's a great sort of, I don't want to say rule of thumb, but it's a great way to sort of like estimate your way there to see if that's enough income. But even 4%, if you looked at that as a strategy, is 4% enough for you to live on retirement? And that's where you have to know. That first question is how much you're going to spend in retirement. Diversify your investments, balance growth of assets and stocks. This is, you got to know exactly, there's one thing to consider is, how risk adverse are you? And the other thing is, how much really do you have to invest in your retirement? Because when you're considering about will your money last, you have to make sure your money is growing. And if your money's all in a fixed income portfolio and you've got not a lot of money in retirement, then chances are that you're going to deplete your money before your mortality. So you have to have some equities in your portfolio to grow it ahead of inflation. Otherwise, you might run out of money, not just ahead of inflation. If you don't have a lot of money in retirement, you need to actually continue to grow your money in retirement. Some people retire with $3 million, $4 million, and they have a low kind of expectation. When I say low, maybe it's only $80,000 a year. They're not too worried about getting too much equities in their portfolio because they know on a fixed income portfolio, they can still generate enough income to last throughout the retirement. So it's not such a priority, but you do have to understand what is the equity and fixed income in your portfolio, what kind of equities, what kind of fixed income, where is it located? Is it in North America? Is it in Europe? Like, you have to understand it's not just about pick a balance fund. You really have to be very specific about what is actually working right now. And so what subsectors of the economy are working and what are not. That'll help you to drive the kind of returns you need. Consider annuities. If you are actually very risk adverse and you're worried about running out of money, when you convert your money to an annuity, then what you're doing is you're guaranteeing really an income stream to last your entire lifetime. And as long as that income stream is enough for your lifetime, then great. The only thing that is troublesome about annuities is that if there is some kind of medical concern and you need more money, your money's tied up into an annuity. So you need to make sure that you have some money outside of an annuity to take care of those unexpected expenses. And the last one is an unexpected. I think we should plan for these kinds of things, but healthcare costs. You can actually purchase some healthcare insurance that'll provide money for PSW workers to come in and care for you, that kind of thing. So those things are actually easy. If you want to know about that, you just email me and I'll be happy to send you all the brochures and you can figure out that for yourself. But you can actually put money aside today so you'll have that later on to help you. Okay, moving on to the next one. What's the best way to transition from work to retirement? Before I continue, how are we doing tonight? What are your thoughts? Put your comments below. I want to hear what you're thinking. As always, I'm the one who's reading your comments and replying back to you. So, and thanks so much for commenting. So what's the best way to transition? This is the last one, to transition from work to retirement. So let's dig into that. Try semi-retirement. Gradually reduce your work hours while supplementing income with savings. This is actually very common. I see a lot of couples who are saying, I'm going to go from 5 days a week down to 3 days a week, or I'm going to just work part-time. Part of that is you're trying to find the balance of letting go of these relationships that you've had for 25, 30 years or more. And you don't want to leave these people, because often what it means is that when you go to retire, you won't really see them all that much. So it may not be just from a money point of view. It might be that you're just not ready to step fully into retirement. So try semi-retirement. See if there's an opportunity for you to work part-time. And by the way, a lot of companies want you to stick around. Believe it or not, there's I think, a brain drain in Canada of talent and experience that we're losing because of the baby boomer generation and then COVID. A lot of people took early retirement. And so a lot of that experience and knowledge is gone. And I think companies are very happy to keep you around, even part-time. Build a retirement budget. So test living on your anticipated retirement. So I said this earlier. Try rolling out an early retirement schedule and see how it works for you. Test it out and then make some changes. Say, hey, that was a month of what retirement might look like. And what did we feel about that? What did we see? Was it kind of boring? Was it kind of exciting? Did we spend more than we thought? Where did we spend our time? Who are the friends that might be able to join us? And will we still have the same friends? Are we retiring sooner than most of our friends? I want to say that just for a second, because I do these plans for a lot of you, and you're really, really excited to retire early. Can we go now? And all I have to say is that is like, I'm so happy to see that you are ready for retirement. Maybe you're sick of your work. Maybe you're just excited about the next part of your life. But also keep in mind that retiring 5, 6, 7 years ahead of your peers means that you're going to be doing things at times when your friends won't be able to. So just bear in mind that you might need to get some more friends that are in your kind of timeline, because you're going to be away and doing things at times when they're not available. Like if it's a Tuesday and 9 o'clock in the morning, you want to go golfing and your buddy's at work, right? You got to make new golf buddies, that kind of thing. Okay, back to prioritize your debt payments. This is really key. I've seen a lot of plans where people are going into debt with, going to retirement with debt. Now, whether this is your primary residence or whether you are, I see a lot of this, you have rental properties and you've got a lot of debt and you're still underwater quite a bit, and meaning that the rental income is not covering the bills. I think anybody, when I say underwater, they understand. People who are renting, they understand that. So you end up having to keep working because you're waiting for the mortgage rates to change. You're waiting for maybe to get rid of tenants that aren't paying. Who knows? But debt is really, really a bad thing to carry when you go into retirement. Seeing $30,000 mortgage payments for people as they're in retirement, that's $30,000 being taken out of your investment accounts. Remember that. This is not your salary anymore. This is your investment accounts. $30,000 going towards a mortgage, for instance. This is really hard on your retirement. So make sure you do what you can to retire your debt before you retire. Engage in retirement planning. Well, this is really in my wheelhouse, isn't it? This is talking about talk to an advisor. So I'll just take a minute for that and then we're all done. Engage an advisor. What can you do to help us retire? How much is that going to cost? How much time are we going to have to invest in that? What kind of information are you going to need? Explain to the advisor what it is that you're worried about. What is your concerns are? Because if you're communicating that you're worried, if you've got an advisor now, schedule that meeting, whether it's phone call, Zoom, in person, and tell them you're concerned about your retirement, and lay out what those concerns are, and make sure that they get someone that says, here's a map, roadmap, right? A plan for you to actually work through these scenarios that are going to overcome those obstacles that you're faced right now in your retirement. Here's what we're going to do to help you so that this is no longer going to be a problem. When you do that, I guarantee you, the moment that you get a plan and it says you have enough money to retire, given what you've laid out on paper, that you want to spend this amount of money in these areas of your life for this period of time, and your plan shows you have enough money, and it's not based on high rates of return, they're based off of, let's say, a 4% or 5% rate of return, that's tremendous relief of anxiety for you. It's no longer something that's going to keep you up at night. It's no longer something that's going to make you feel like it's hopeless. I'm going to have to work for 3 or 4 or 5 more years. When you get that done, you can relieve yourself of that anxiety and start planning for other things. Because most of the time when I tell people they have enough money to retire, they start thinking about, well, could I retire earlier? Could we do this, and this in our retirement and expand or elevate our retirement? So this is why I would encourage you to get a retirement plan done. It's going to help you tremendously in your life. And well, that's it. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. I was really pleased that you joined me today. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Remember, put your comments down below.